American McGee's Alice is a 2000s horror adventure game released for Windows and iOS based on the Alice in Wonderland story, but with a unique aesthetic curated to intrigue the alternative culture at the time. In the first game, the story follows Alice as she's awoken from her dreams of Wonderland, you know that place, by a fire in her family home, killing everyone in it save for her pet cat and herself. After surviving, her immense guilt forces her into a state of catatonia, which we spend the first game breaking through in Wonderland. In the second game, Alice is awoken from her stupor and is older. We see through memories how her life after the fire is, and how difficult it's been getting around on her own as people are constantly trying to use her, degrade her, coerce her, and get her into prostitution. This game grapples with the question of why did that fire happen, and who started it. We unravel this exploration of Alice's real life and her unconscious mind, Wonderland. My point is, if you can't see by now, these games are unique and a treasure that I hold so close to my heart. I'm not someone who plays video games regularly, and when I do, they're usually more of a story-reliant one, like Life is Strange, Detroit Become Human, Tell Me Why, Rambo, Little Miss Fortune, Gris, stuff like that. I watched my one and only YouTuber ever, IOUUUUGGGHHHH play the second game, and I remember being absolutely enamored by its aesthetics. And it wasn't just me, this game was actually pretty big in the Let's Player sphere for a while, and while I was doing my research, I found a pretty big modding community on Steam. And I mean, like, can you blame them? The second game, which came out in 2011, is peak 2011. Point in case, the stockings, with the eyeliner, and the demonias? So naturally, after hearing the announcement for a third game in 2017, with an accompanying trailer, everyone and their fucking mother was stoked. It was going to be called Alice Asylum, and apparently followed Alice's story with the recurring mental hospital, but the game was officially cancelled by EA in 2023 as the Alice IP was both too exhaustive to keep renewing because somebody kept trying to monopolize it, and those gorgeously gothic renders are unfortunately incredibly expensive. McGee confirms that the game has been struggling to get on its feet for a while, but they'd exhausted every option and were just forced to cancel. They even tried a Patreon to fund it independently, but it just didn't happen. They did make some really fucking cool concept art on there if you want to see it. Saying I fell to my knees in Walmart would be the understatement of the century. At that point, I'd only watched gameplay and had never played myself. It's usually how I consume content, don't judge, and it destroyed me. Now that I've played the second game in its entirety, and I'm going to start the first one, don't judge my play order, I've been Thanos snapped, disintegrated, specks of dust, atoms! Because we've lost an awesome fucking series, and today, I'm gonna talk about why you should play even if you haven't. And why you should care that we lost the third game. Because it's a national tragedy. There should be bumper stickers about this. Warning, I'm gonna spoil. So if you want to play the games, they're both on Xbox Game Pass right now. If you don't have Game Pass, they're about $20 together, usually, but when I was checking prices, I saw the second game is on sale for $1 as of July 10th, 2024, and it goes off sale tomorrow. Which this video will be posted on Thursday, so, good luck, guys. Play the game if you can. It's 100% worth it. EA doesn't give a fuck if you do or you don't, so they're probably gonna put it on sale for a ridiculous amount of money again, so keep an eye on it. It's a good game. And for the record, before I start, I'm mostly going to cover the second game since I haven't played the first game. I want to so bad, and I will, because that is also on Game Pass. And you bet your ass I am there. I just need a second because I have a job. This video essay is by no means coherent or amazing. This is just me talking. And I hope that's okay. So obviously Alice borrows from Alice's Adventure Underground by Lewis Carroll, as many other famous pieces of content do. But why does Alice stand out from the countless other attempts? How does it cement itself as separate while at the same time reminiscent? How is it unique without being cheesy? The first answer that comes to mind is how McGee directs the time period. The time period takes place during the Industrial Revolution in London, or roughly early 1800s. To simplify an insane amount, the Industrial Revolution was when we started using fossil fuels, work became a focal point of existence, children lost appendages and sanity, trains started becoming a thing, and Satan invented the distinction between the working and the middle class. Everyone was miserable and sooty, but it was hidden under the guise of progress. Alice reminds its audience of this time period constantly. Real-life London is desaturated and miserable, but it's also sooty and dirty. There's broken wood and loose bricks everywhere, but it's all under a thick layer of soot from everything suddenly being powered by steam. The side characters speak with the vocabulary of the time. I play with subtitles because I'm deaf as anything, so imagine my surprise when I saw this word. I had no idea what the hell that was, but when it was said in game, it was pronounced as jail. So I was confused as hell, but I appreciate how the game says, oh yeah, you're in the 1800s, whether you like it or not. Plus, the enemy of the game is a train, and it leaves black ink everywhere the same way real-life trains left black soot. Plus, the trains were representative of progress, so it's super creative that something indicative of progress is destroying her mind. Because guess what? You know what progress is also destroying Alice's mind? The forgetting. I'll explain that in the story summary, but this game is smart. Does this mean the game is 100% historically accurate? I don't know. I don't know. But I'm a big fan of the rule of cool, because compared to other adaptations that came to mind, the emphasis this game has on its time period makes it feel realer and normalizes Wonderland in a weird way. Like, example, the Disney movie uses London as like a backdrop, but it never acknowledges it in the favor of going, ooh, look at the wondrous things in Wonderland. How silly! Where Alice incorporates the time period even in the nonsensical dimension, giving the world a more tangible feel without losing its quality. It doesn't use randomness as a crutch. It incorporates it into what's real, making a big amorphous soup of confusion, and it suits the story perfectly. So as I said before, I'm a big fan of both Alice games, but I've only ever played one, so I'll only cover the one. The second game takes place after Alice breaks from her catatonia in Rutledge Asylum and has started to function in British society. She's clearly not doing the greatest, as her introductory scene is her in Wonderland watching her friend Rabbit literally fucking explode in a river of blood. As she wakes up from her spell, we see her psychologist, Dr. Angus Bumby. He's trying to make her forget what happened through hypnosis therapy so she can move on with her life, and especially emphasizes that an empty mind is a good one. We play as Alice, who is tasked with picking up her meds until she starts following a stray cat, having a hallucination, and breaking it when Pris Witless, one of Alice's caretakers from the asylum, invites Alice to see her pigeons. Alice declines because the last time she said yes, Pris blackmailed her for money and liquor.
Classic British people things.
She heard Alice mumble about causing the fire that killed her family, which we have not a fucking clue if that's true, but Prim used this as an opportunity to make a few bucks. She found her a place to live in the House for Wayward Youth, it's an orphanage, but constantly threatens to tell on Alice's possible murder if she doesn't do this or the other or whatever. Pris gets her to come see the birds anyway with the promise of telling Alice where her treasured toy rabbit is. This whole interaction started planting doubts in Alice's mind about how that fire might have started, and it scared her into thinking that she might have done it. This also starts her initial fall into Wonderland, starting the game part of the game. She talks to her old friend the Cheshire Cat and finds out that Wonderland has been on edge since the appearance of a new villain, the Infernal Train, as it ravages and destroys a once gorgeous Wonderland. While there, she steps through her family house's door to have a memory about the fire and add a planetary key, or memory, to her keyring, or her immediate psyche. In the first level, all she remembers is that the library where the fire started was very flammable, as it contained chemicals and a fireplace alongside all the paper. After this, she has a funny-ass dialogue with Hatter.
Oh, Alice, inmates run the asylum. No thanks. And worst of all, I'm left tealess.
Tragic.
And wraps it up with her escapade in Hatter's domain. The small stories in each world segment are worth learning, but I want to keep this video as short as possible, so I'm going to focus on plot A, or the overall story. In the real world, Alice is woken up after falling into a river by two sailors, so she shoves them off to go find her old nanny. Nan Sharp is Alice's old piano tutor, but when the Lidl house burned down, she was out of a job and turned to prostitution instead. We see her arguing with one of her customers who insists she's not servicing him enough, to the point where he decides to hurt her and us when Alice decides to stop him. He knocks over a lamp in the scuffle, starting a fire. Back in Wonderland, Alice adds a key to her ring by remembering that she was the last one in the library before the fire, which only confuses her more as to whether or not she may have done it. Back in real life, she asks Nan about the fire, and she encourages her to forget and move on, similar to her psychiatrist. While they talk, they pass men trying to prey on children. Nan tries to entice Alice into joining her line of work, then tells Alice that her family lawyer, Radcliffe, has her rabbit, and the inquiry reports from the fire. She goes to Radcliffe's house, and because of this dialogue, we learn that she has taken this route of questioning several times, and just happened to forget that she's done that, I guess. He describes the fire as misadventure, and that the family cat knocked over a lamp in the library, the family was trapped upstairs, and that her sister died in her bed behind a locked door. He starts to insinuate that Alice may have started the fire, which is not helping anyone. but is cut off by Alice hallucinating that his house is suddenly empty and desolate. She goes back to Wonderland to do drugs, say mildly suicidal things, and remembers that she couldn't have started the fire, and neither could the cat. The cat showed her a way out of the house through the window, and that the lamp that the cat was supposed to knock over was in her bedroom. When she was lucid again, Alice is in jail because she passed out while cursing out a guy who was rude to Nan Sharp, and the cops didn't know where to put her for the night. After stomping the fuck out of some cards in Wonderland, she remembers that her sister Lizzie couldn't have locked her door because she never did that. She detested having a closed door, so why suddenly lock it, out of all things? Lizzie also totally could have escaped through her window, but didn't. So Alice comes to the conclusion that someone incapacitated her sister, locked the door, then started the fire as a cover-up. After talking to the Queen, we see a flashback from when Alice was initially released from Rutledge and came back after bad behavior. Apparently, they tried to both bleed her out with leeches and lobotomize her during her stay, which is where this beautiful, beautiful image of Alice comes from that I use all the time. In her ego death-like trance, we see her psychiatrist tell her to trade the Queen's tentacles for the train, as a way of trying to replace one torment with another. After she escapes the memory, she finds a child victim of the new Wonderland with missing legs. He asks her for help, prompting her into the next level. It opens with real human children who have been ripped apart and stitched back together saying,
"The unstable are more than merely mad. They have other parts. The doll maker will deprive them of what remains of their deranged souls. They need care."
This level is the most on the nose, but I'll get into that later. In the last key Alice finds, she remembers that she actually saw who started the fire. Her psychologist. He had the key to Lizzie's room in his coat pocket, and he showed that shit off, like he was proud. She realizes that Dr. Bumby not only killed her family, but did so to cover up that he assaulted her sister and murdered her. On top of that, he's been using his doctorate to force children into forgetting their trauma so he could use them and then sell them into prostitution when they become husks. He's been so intent on making Alice forget what happened so that any evidence of his crime can be covered up. After realizing this, Alice rushes to the doctor, finds him in a train station, leading into the final battle sequence, and when it's over, Alice has a quiet moment of guilt about not saying anything about what she saw. She decides that in the end, her punishment was seeing that abuse passed on, so now it's her duty to stop it. Which leads to my favorite quote of the game.
"Make your survival mean something."
And boy does she.
You, monstrous creature. Such evil will be punished.
By whom? By what? Psychotic, silly bitch. Your madness will be punished. Now leave. I'm expecting your replacement.
Okay, wow, do I have a lot to say about this part. When I was a kid, I always tended to veer towards the more alternative cultures. Pastel goth was my most searched keyword on Pinterest. LD Shadow Ladies emo phase was my personal bible. You're Gonna Go Far Kid Nightcore version went double platinum on my YouTube playlist. And Lucy was my favorite character from Subway Surfers. It was just my thing. So after school, I jumped into my mom's bed and hid under the covers to watch YouTube as usual. I thought I originally watched the Cupquake version of this game, but it turns out she only played this game 2 years ago at the time of recording, so I don't actually know who I watched this from initially. The only person of note who I may have watched is PewDiePie, but he scared me as a kid, so probably not. My point is, I remember distinctly hiding under my parents' covers and seeing a Let's Play thumbnail of this game and being fucking enamored. This game was so beautiful to me. I didn't know it was possible for a game to be this pretty. I never finished the Let's Play the first time, but it stuck around in my brain long enough that when I saw cosplays of it, I finally decided to play it for myself. Alice's aesthetic choices are what make it stand out from other adaptations, but also other horror games to me in general. So let's start with the obvious. Miss Alice herself, Miss Liedl, who I just found out while editing this video. Liedl is the last name of the real girl that the book was based off of. So she has the full name of the real Alice in Wonderland, which is adorable, and her model as a child, like her little bangs and her funk-ass bob. The real Alice had that too. That's so cute. She sports the same blue dress as every Alice adaptation does after Disney, so you can look at her and go, yes, Alice. But she's edgy as hell with her straight, long black hair, her smudgy eyeliner, striped stockings, and fucking demonias. I will never get over that. She's just straight up wearing demonias. The pockets on her apron each sport a planetary sign, which is a recurring theme in the game, that switch based on which spot of the story she's in. Her original outfit has 2 signs for Eris, the ruler of discord and strife, as a nod to her control over Wonderland, and Jupiter, to symbolize her mind rising over her heart. She wears the Omega symbol around her neck, which doesn't make much sense until you remember that in the first game, the main villain, the Red Queen, wears the Alpha symbol. And if you're not rotted and gutted, you know that it's because those symbols detonate end and beginning. And because the Red Queen is also Alice, the necklace is a reminder that Alice is in control of her own destiny. She created this world, and she can be the one who ends it. Her London outfit is notably desaturated in comparison. I think my favorite part about this outfit is her hair, because first of all, twin! It's noticeably thinner and shorter, it's in choppy layers, it's just a general mess as compared to her long, silky, ebony, darkness, dementia raven way. I love the continuity because it's such a fun detail that her hair is shorter, because it's a nod to when they shaved her ass bald. She's growing it back. It's so cute. I also like that her long hair, she's more confident with it. The long, thick black hair, she's visibly more. I like that a lot. I also like to think that her hair is patchy because it's either falling out or she's ripping it out. Because she has cutie outfit changes to match each level, and I don't know why everyone in every game isn't doing that. That is actually the best idea ever had. Ever. Each design has so much love put into it. Each one has a unique trait. Like, the underwater one, it fucking glows, dude. It glows in the dark. It's so cool. Speedrun of all the aesthetic choices for the player experience that I adore. Her death animation and noise being blood-curdling screams. The health bar being roses painted red. The weapons being a hobby horse, a pepper grinder, and a teapot because she weaponizes what she knows. She doesn't know weapons, so she makes weapons out of things that aren't weapons. It's so cute. Alice's incapability to give a fuck, ever.
Tragic.
And on top of that, when she calls out the fetch quests.
This must be made.
Those who say so usually mean they should be made by others. Serviceable. Why not season your own pig parts?
The money being teeth. Stereo mode is sick as hell. The Vorpal Blade's glowy slash you get when you upgrade, and the upgraded horse being a unicorn. This game loves its grotesque nonsense, but especially emphasizes it by juxtaposition, and my roommate once said that she had never heard anyone use that word correctly, so Matt, this is for you. I hope I did it. This game loves its parallels. All the furniture in the dollhouse level is furniture, it doesn't move, it doesn't jump at you, but it's organic. It has eyes. They follow you around. Like, there's something living about it. But it's furniture. It's freaky. The Hatter's domain is technical with its intimidating gears and machinery, but it's not technical in a way that makes sense, as it's suspended in air with absolutely no explanation. Revisiting the Queen's domain seems like a daunting task, as she's a terrifying force, but the second you get to her level, you're greeted with a literal house of cards. This game it loves irony. The worlds of Alice are gorgeously unsettling with eerie brightness. Most horror games love to turn down brightness and stick to desaturated colors so bright reds from blood stick out, but Alice doesn't give a fuck! There are so many colors in this game, and you're still shitting your pants because the black oil monsters with 8 faces is crawling at you with all of its centipedal limbs and breathing fire. The golden warmth and burning reds of the steampunk levels accentuate the humidity from all the steam, but the greens and the purples give depth and accentuate that you are in the fucking sky. The soft greens and blues of the artifact levels feel breezy and refreshing while at the same time almost overcast. The harsh, fleshy reds of the Queen's castle make you want to spit out your own teeth as the walls literally breathe at you. Each color has its own intentional place. My personal favorite color moment is the Radula Room garden you see after winning. The purpley blue serene fountain is just, oh, I love it. It's gorgeous and it's eerie. I want to eat it. I know it smells like jasmine in there. The little bubbles floating around with bottles inside as the Cheshire Cat chats our ear off with his little ear piercing. It's pretty. It's so pretty. Each stage of the world reflects what Alice knows in her waking life. As we get closer to unraveling plots, the theming of each level begins to correlate with each piece of the story we pick up through little memory achievements and cutscenes animated with collage. I love those, I love those cutscenes. McGee really plays up the correlation in the second game specifically, where we get things like deep-sea opera house rhythm games and Japanese-inspired ink painting platformer levels that respond to offhand comments like how Alice's family lawyer was fond of collecting Japanese artifacts. The last map of the game before the final boss is themed around dolls and dollhouses and freaky babies with their faces sewn on. It reflects what Alice is slowly unraveling in her real life, that her trusted psychologist who has given her care since the fire was actually the one who started it. And on top of that, started it to cover up the fact that he had just assaulted and murdered her sister. The level mirrors it by showing dolls as Bumby's victims, real children being ripped apart and sewn back together wrong as Bumby dictates. He dedicated his life's work to using diseased children to further his own goals, but when he was done with them, convinced them to forget themselves and go into where he believes is the only place for them, the brothel. He's a fucking sicko. And this level makes sure you know that. The whole level moves and shifts with uncertainty. It's a labyrinth of decoding what Alice already knows, but doesn't quite know what that is yet. The spaces between giant doll houses are a dumping ground for doll carcasses, which is uncomfortable since we know the dolls are supposed to be children, but it's not that bad until we get to the door. I hate this door. It takes a lot to genuinely make me nauseous in a horror game, but these doors did it. These doors did it. To get from place to place on the map, you have to go through a hole carved into a giant doll. There's no way around it. There's no other entrance. You can't exit once you've walked through. The first door is freaky, but it's not that bad. You just walk through its mouth. The second door is what gets me. After finishing the first half of the map, you have to walk through this. And there's no other choice. You have to. You have to go through there. There's no other way. You go through that door. There's other elements like this in the level, like the sliding puzzle being a crying child, the minor enemies being called bitch babies for crying, and the doll girls covering themselves up as you fight them, leaving them vulnerable so you can literally stab them in the back. It's disgusting. I am so glad we got to kill that fucker twice. Other people have said so much about the surrealism references in Alice. Believe me, I love them. I just don't think I'm the person to talk about them, given I am not a surrealist girly. I don't know much about surrealism. I would love to. I will probably figure out in the next few years of art school, but at the moment, I am not the best person to hear it from. But if you're interested, please read the official art book. But I can explain cutscenes. I am somebody who adores collage. I love making collage. I love consuming collage media. I love these cutscenes. These cutscenes are everything. When I called the cutscenes collage, I'm not even like doing them full justice. They're gorgeous cutouts of ink drawings being moved around on top of animated paper, all collaged together to have a paper puppet theater uncanny vibe. The paper animation in general is one of my favorite things on the planet. After growing up watching Madoka Magica or seeing collage works of Rihanna as my favorite Vocaloid song covers, so these naturally make me go insane. What they bring to the table is so unique and intentional in everything that it does. It's delicate and childish and brings a certain impression to every media that paper animation translates to, and I think that can go a long way for what animators are trying to say. Everyone who knows me IRL is going to groan in dismay that I'm bringing this up, but the new season of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime features a paper-like animation in the opening, and I'm obsessed with it. It shows the kingdom and its inhabitants as cute and little wholesome Playmobil versions of the serious events, and it makes you go, oh, it's my little guys, and oh, he's doing a spin, he's got a little crown, oh my god, tiny little crown, tiny little town guys, it's so cute. It's relying on the prepackaged association paper animation has with puppet shows to make it feel cute and jubilant. On the other hand, Madoka Magica leans super far in the other direction, making the papery animation's fun nature absolutely horrific when put in contrast to a distinctly different style. Madoka says, look, it's your little guys. They're so cute standing next to the cotton balls covered in barbed wire with naturalistic flat teeth and hollowed out eyes. They're so cute. It's freaky. It freaks you out. Alice approaches the matter in the middle, because the game loves a good style change, as we've seen with the watercolor platformers or the random segments of shooting baby heads that are cannons. Alice doesn't explain itself. It doesn't need to. Paper puppets are distinctly childish and wholesome, so they juxtapose I'm sorry, Mads. With that sudden bright flash of blood, or violent camera shaking, or inky black smoke as a train ravages Wonderland. The style captures Alice's genre of thinking perfectly, as it gets her need to kidify everything, while at the same time being stiff and overly detailed and suddenly horrific. Just like how the lights in the dollhouse are made of decapitated doll heads, or the cuddly creatures are mashed together with Industrial Revolution parts and unnecessary cruelty. Alice retains its black and white contrast between whimsical and gory in its flashbacks, and it's so delicious! Alice Madness Returns has such a special place in my little gothic heart. I could go on for hours about this game, and believe me, I cut out a lot of stuff writing this script. It's already 4,400 words. I love this game. If you're interested in this game, I can't advise you to play it enough. It's not the most technically amazing game, because the jump mechanics are insane, and the hair physics are something, but it's amazing to me. She is so lovely to me. Everyone say thank you, American McGee and their team. We wouldn't have any of this without them. I've been slowly nudging my friends for the past few months about the art book since my birthday is next month, and just like guess what? Guess what they made? Guess what they made? Look what they made. Do you know when my birthday is? Alright, that's it. Okay, bye.